Yeah.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Could you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you.
We can hear you. I can.
That's not normally a good thing.
I like your shirt, Mark.
Thank you. I'm ready for barbecue season.
Yeah, it looks like you're ready to be outside with a beer in hand, perhaps, and grilling.
You're talking my language right now, and I like it.
Yeah.
Good. I want to I got to kick off with this crazy story. Can I kick it off with a crazy story?
Do it.
Please.
Am I really bright?
So,
I want to turn myself
driving
down.
home yesterday is one of these days where. Sure. Oh, I need.
Sorry, Mark. That was super rude.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to change the lighting because I had it configured a different way. Please.
Yeah, that's better. You're not glowing. You're less glowing.
I'm not.
So here I am.
Dracula.
I'm driving home. You are Dracula.
I don't look like Dracula.
So driving home from work yesterday, you know, it's one of those days where you're deep in thought and you know, you're lost in your own little world. And pulling up to a red light, it's in a major intersection. Okay, it's like 6 lanes on both sides, 2 lanes intersecting, and it's, you know, true Vancouver pouring rain, absolutely just ripping down rain. And here I am, I'm like listening to some tunes in my own little world, and then something like catches my eye in my periphery, and out pops this dude. He's in the left turning lane, right? He's in the left turning lane. Out he pops out of his sunroof. He's completely naked in his car. And he gets up to his sunroof and he starts just dancing. He's giving everybody a show. So, you know, I had to share that. It just, it blew my mind. I don't know.
You sent me a picture.
That kind of made your day.
That made, like, you know, it's one of these days where you're like really lost in your world.
Yeah.
And then this guy does this thing, and it like kind of like brings you back to reality.
You out of like being so serious and reminds you probably like, man, he's really enjoying life.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I'm envious. I should probably call the police because he's probably high as a kite. But I just had to share that.
So Mark,
that's a story that you should keep to yourself.
I love that story, but like honestly, come on, the guy must have been tweaking on something.
Yeah, I got a picture. I'll tell you what. I'll put a picture. I'll overlay a picture. I got a picture of him.
I have that picture.
That's awesome.
Danielle,
I hope he's got a big, massive grin.
Yeah, he gave me a show too. He saw that I was watching, so he turned to me and gave me a little show. So
nice little boogie.
It was really nice of him.
Hey everybody, Tyler McLennan, Dentist on Demand, and I am joined with Mark Wagner, my trusty partner in crime. And how you doing today, Mark?
Good. I'm all wired up today. I'm actually a robot.
It's not really Mark, it's actually a droid.
Yeah, it is my clone droid. Yeah.
We're super pumped to have Danielle on the podcast with us. Danielle, remind me of the name of your firm. I had it here, but I lost it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's PCI HIPAA.
PCI HIPAA. Danielle has this amazing Instagram channel called the HIPAA Chick. A year ago, Dentist on Demand did a major pivot along with every other company in the world. We took Dentist on Demand from being like a social media marketing company to that plus a virtual consultation teledentistry tool. And when we did that, we were like, wow, like what are all the implications of this? What are all the rules? How do we stay in compliance? HIPAA obviously being the American regulatory on this. In Canada, it's PIPEDA, as a lot of people will know here. When people talk about compliance, 9 times out of 10, they're going to refer to HIPAA before PIPEDA, which is why, we sort of talk about both in the same context. So we're super happy to have you on the show with us today, Danielle. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Let's jump in. Tell us about your impetus to start the HIPAA Check. Tell us about your company. Like, where did your journey begin on this whole compliance topic?
Sure. Well, I can tell you it certainly didn't begin with like an obsession about compliance, because that's no fun. right? What really happened was we saw a niche, we saw a need, and I compare it to taxes because that's something that everyone can relate to. No one is taught how to file taxes in school, and once they start working, that's something they've got to do. So compliance for a dentist, they're not taught that in dental school. It's not something that they go through or have any idea about when they go and open their own practice. And so we saw a real need for something that they don't want to do, that's time consuming and complicated. And that's really where we set out to solve this problem. And the HIPAA chick really came from having some fun with compliance. It's a nickname that was given to me. And it just kind of stuck. Everybody says like, oh, I've got a guy for that, or I have a person for that. Like, I know somebody who can help you. And that's kind of how it was defined, is like, I'm the go-to person for HIPAA compliance. So that's where it stemmed from. And we're really just about helping, because this is a complicated topic, as you've talked about. And my passion is helping people. I really love to give back. If I was super wealthy, I would be a philanthropist. So I'm trying to get there. And this is kind of my small way of doing some philanthropy in an area that I know a lot about. And until I become a billionaire or something, then I'll be able to make an even bigger impact.
Why not trillionaire? Just make it a trillionaire.
You know what? I'm going to be the guy in the car. You're right. Trillionaire. Yeah. Here I'm going.
Awesome.
You're going to be the guy in the car, hopping out the
side. Everybody, that's the goal, I think.
Out of the sunroof and saying, "Who wants to party?"
I'm dancing.
That's right.
And who wants, help with your compliance as well, right?
So when a dentist comes to you, like what there's got to be like a top 10 question people ask you.
Yeah, most of the questions that I get are around, like, am I protected? How do I know if I'm protected? What do I need to be doing for staff training? And a lot of it is people coming very overwhelmed, because they'll go to like a CE course, or they're, this last year, everybody was attending webinars, and they walk away feeling kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm really scared. What can come from this, the penalties are massive, and I have absolutely no idea where to get started. So a lot of my clients come with like, I know I need help, but I don't know where to go. Can you tell me where to start? That's what we get a lot.
So where do they start?
Yeah. So from the HIPAA side, it starts on a risk assessment. So for the Canadian listeners, that's also a really great first step, because you can even you could take a HIPAA risk assessment, in fact, and see. So when you go through that, in the States, it is an annual requirement, and it provides a report. It's kind of the government's way of forcing a practice to stay up to date with changes, because compliance is a moving target. So starting with a risk assessment, it'll provide you with a score, a report that says, hey, this is how you're doing. These are the gaps that you have. And then it'll call out some corrective action that can be implemented to fill those gaps and make you compliant.
So what do you see like in some commonalities that, people are missing then?
Yeah, a major gap. The two biggest gaps are in documentation and a misconception around staff training, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And what is the biggest threat right now?
The biggest threat, I like to call it two. So for sure, ransomware. Ransomware, since it came about, has done nothing but just grow exponentially. And then it's human error. So 90% of data breaches and patient complaints that lead to investigations stem from human error. And a lot of ransomware attacks happen because someone clicked on an email that they shouldn't have, or they were sent a weird link in social media and they were too curious. They wanted to see what it looked like.
Yeah, so, Mom, don't do it. Mom, don't click on that, Mom.
That's right. Exactly. So I would say cyber threats and then staff training.
Awesome. Where is it all coming from? Like, who's doing all of this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's cyber criminals. So it's scammers. And the reality is that when you look at patient data, it's not so much the health history. No one cares the last time someone had a cleaning or if they had a root canal. What they want is that identity profile. The identity profile, the patient personal information, is where the money is in extracting this information and going after them. And then it's a bonus if they can get them to pay a ransom. too.
Yeah. So these people are selling data. Who would buy this sort of data?
All kinds of cyber criminals. So they sell credit profiles, they sell credit card numbers, banking information, you name it. You can just Google, in fact, like credit card dumps on, like, just pull up Google and put in credit card dumps, and you'll see tons and tons of credit card numbers that have been stolen and are for sale.
No
And
way.
believe it or not, they will take your credit card to purchase them.
Oh man.
Are you serious?
So I'm watching this guy right now on YouTube. He calls himself Pierogi.
Okay.
And he does scammer payback. Have you seen this guy?
Love. I haven't watched, but I've been told many times, and I keep meaning to.
I'll send you the link of this guy. He's so, like, it's amazing. Like he's got like this speaker, like this voice. It changes his voice to sound like this older elderly woman, and he calls himself Vivian. and he just messes with these scammers. I've been watching it like the last 2 or 3 weeks, and this guy's awesome. Like, he can actually like, there's this software that the scammers use to get onto your computer.
Yeah.
And he's actually getting onto their computer in the process and deleting all of their files.
Oh, that's amazing.
And getting all these victim files and then giving it to the authorities. It's a really cool channel. I'll send you the link.
Yes, please. I've been hearing about it recently, and I've been meaning to check it out. So send it to me for sure. There's this thing called the Robo Killer. It's an app. I don't know if you've heard of it. You can download it, and it's similar. So we all get spam calls, right? Yeah. And it'll answer on your behalf, and then it'll record it and send you the recording. And they just mess with people.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I gotta confess, when I get those calls, I get them on the line.
You're the one that messes with them, aren't you?
I try and keep them on, and I do that. I don't look at the phone and say, "Oh, I don't know that number." I answer it. I answer everything.
Just leave them on your desk.
Maybe you should contact RoboKiller, and you could become one of their. You can just send your recordings, your personal ones.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe I should. Maybe
it's got to be one of those things during COVID. I mean, here we are all in our office, our home offices working. And if you're pounding out a couple hours on the computer and you get a scam call, you could literally just park it on your desk and just be like, "Hey, no problem." And then, now I'm Vivian, and I'm going to keep you on the phone for 2 hours.
Yeah, no, this guy's great. Like, he's, I should share the link actually in this podcast. I will on YouTube. I'll tag him.
Are there,
maybe he'll see that we gave him a shout out.
Are there telltale signs, like when I think most people, I nearly actually got hit with one the other day, and I forget what it was. It was very authentic. But are there typical signs that people can see? I know we're talking about dentistry, but like, generally speaking, if you're in a dental practice, like, are most of the attacks coming online, or are they calling? And are there ways you can sort of, like, easy flags you can see, or indications that, hey, this isn't a real situation?
Yeah, certainly. So, it really is, like, my biggest thing that I tell clients is slow down, because if you just take that extra second to inspect the email, to click on the name that you recognize, to make sure it's actually their email address, because like you said, they're very good at what they do, these scammers. And so they make it look incredibly authentic. Mm-hmm. So if you, like, let's say your boss sends you an email that's asking you to, like, buy these gift cards. If that's not something your boss has typically done or you've experienced in the past, like, take that extra second to call them and say, "Hey, did you really want me to do this?" Or inspect the email a bit more. Shipping notifications are notorious for having malware or ransomware attached to them, because we're all ordering things. We are creatures of convenience. And so those are big ones to look out for. And what you can do in your dental practice is make sure that your staff training includes security awareness and talks about, how to recognize malware or phishing scams or ransomware, and have that open dialogue, and make sure your team knows that they can come to you if they're not sure about something, and they know what the right path is to say, "Hey, is this legitimate? Is this okay to view?"
Okay, so
what about
sorry, Mark, I cut you off there.
Yeah, I was gonna just say, what about, like, staff being a threat? That's a thing too.
Yeah, the staff. So that's kind of going back to what we talked about is like, what are the biggest threats? So human error, we're not perfect beings. And, we have good days and bad days. There's some days where we're stressed or we're overwhelmed. And that leads to small mistakes that can cost a practice big time in the world of compliance. So you can't prevent it. We're never going to be perfect. But what you can do is have really strong, proper formal training in place so that when that accident happens, you're able to recover. You have means of protection. So you can prove that, you did everything to prevent it by training the team member. And that's going to really minimize, if not get rid of, the penalties that you would have if you didn't have a formal training solution.
Well, what about the staff actually breaching the data and doing something bad?
Yeah, absolutely. And that comes from, doing proper background checks, calling references, making sure that you're hiring, and then also having safeguards to check for things like embezzlement. Embezzlement is big time in the dental space. So making sure that, your merchant services, for example, has the right safeguards on the machine so that it's not, an easy way to cancel or void a refund and then charge it to another card and things like that.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's amazing. I wanted to go back really quickly to the one thing that sort of tipped me off was when you get the notifications for your delivery on arrival. So I get a ton of those, and I even work in distribution. So for me, when I get those emails, because we all have multiple email addresses now, and they come to various inboxes where it's like, hey, click here to get your accurate tracking info. They must be getting a lot of people with that one.
Oh, certainly. They definitely are. And again, it comes from we're moving faster than ever. We're operating with as much convenience, and how do we streamline and how do we automate? And that's something that we're used to. It's part of our daily life, right? So you're kind of working on autopilot when you see those and you're like,
yeah,
let's see what that is.
And I think the reason people click on it is because
they're counting on that.
Well, they're counting on it. Like, I think of it from on a business level. Like,
I want to know where my package is.
Where's my package? And but also, like, I didn't order this. What is this? Click. Oops. So.
Yep. Absolutely.
Video chat. Can we talk a little bit about that? Is it compliant? What do you need to do to make video chat compliant if you're in the healthcare space?
Yeah. So if you're wanting to do teledentistry or telemedicine, you need to work with a software that has gone through the steps to become compliant. So let's talk about Zoom, because everybody knows Zoom. It became extremely popular with the pandemic and being able to still have that communication. So I'll tell you 4 things that are really wrong with Zoom and why Zoom doesn't work in the healthcare space. So the first one, they claim to have end-to-end encryption, and their version of end-to-end encryption, it allows for access to unencrypted audio and video of your meetings. So if you're meeting with a patient and you notice that you're talking about health history, you could be collecting new billing information, you may be processing a copay right on there. That's all information that could potentially be accessed through Zoom and then shared in alternative ways. The second thing is that they leaked thousands of their users' personal information to strangers, thousands. So who's to say that that's not going to be your practice, right? The third one would be, so a lot of people started using the app, the Zoom app, having it on their phone or downloading it on their computer. And the one for ISO sent all or most of they haven't actually called out how many users data to Facebook. So they gave the information to Facebook. That's a major no-no, of course, in the healthcare space. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth big one is that in their chat window, so when you're on with your team and you're trying to accomplish, let's say, team training for compliance, in the chat window, there's a flaw that when activated, it can install malware into the device. So these are all things that were big and that Zoom is working on cleaning up, but there's a lot of video conferencing tools now, but when it comes to healthcare, you need to invest in a platform that was built for healthcare communication.
Okay. So with Zoom, they have the regular Zoom, which is free, but then now don't they, like, are you referring to, because they call it their healthcare version of Zoom, which is supposed to be HIPAA compliant. So are you saying that that version of Zoom is violating compliance rules as well?
No, so let me be clear. So the free version is going to have those, right? So part of what Zoom did when all of this was happening last year is they worked towards fulfilling those safeguards, and then you pay an enhanced charge to have those safeguards in place.
Okay.
A lot of practices that we talk to are still using the free version simply because they weren't even aware of it. It wasn't on their radar.
Right. And this is again going back to last year. So we were looking at different teleconferencing tools as well. So we looked at Ring Central, we looked at Zoom, we were looking at Doxy, we were looking at Dentulu, like all these, wonderful companies had these great tools. And we were like, well, which one do we pick? How do we do this? Obviously wanted to make sure that we don't get our clients in trouble or we get in trouble. So,
sure.
And that's what we did. So we decided, okay, we're gonna purchase the HIPAA compliant healthcare Zoom, which is the one we're actually conversing on right now.
Mm-hmm.
So just to make sure that we're covered, obviously it's not a cheap version, but it's something that we, with the peace of mind of knowing that, hey, we're using this tool, we're going to help our clients use this tool as well. So that makes me feel a little bit better that we're.
Yeah. So I think like a takeaway, right, for the user, like for the listeners, is if they're using Zoom, as soon as you get done listening to this, go check to see if you've paid for the healthcare version or if you're still utilizing the free tools.
Yeah. And I think they'll know if they're using the healthcare one because it's not a cheap version.
Yeah.
And there was some awful stuff happening during classroom sessions where somebody would jump into a classroom and do some awful things.
Yeah, the Zoom meeting bombs, they were calling them.
Is that a meeting bomb? Okay, I got to write that one down. I didn't know what it was called.
Meeting bombs.
Awesome. So, what's next? Like, what's in the future? What's the biggest threat coming? What's our what exciting defense things are coming?
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest threat is going to continue to be cyber activity and cyber criminals. They're always 25 steps ahead. So rather than planning for, how do we try and get ahead of them? It's just not realistic. It's more, how do we figure out and make sure that our practice is prepared so that if something happens and when it does, we understand how to work through it and how to mitigate any penalties associated. And then also, the training. So it's going to come down to those two elements. Like some easy takeaways to look into for the practice would be talk to your IT provider. When's the last time you did a technical assessment of like, are you using the proper firewall? Do you have the right malware and antivirus in place? What is the encryption level on your backup? Do you have multiple backup solutions so that if the first one doesn't work, you're able to utilize a plan B to recover? And then continuing to stay abreast of the changes for your staff and making sure you have adequate tools to, provide them.
Awesome.
Very cool.
What about blockchain? Is that gonna help us out?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know yet. To be determined. Yeah, maybe we can do a second session on blockchain.
On just blockchain.
Yeah.
What about NTS?
To be determined.
That's right. Nobody knows. What are your thoughts on online forms? There's a lot of companies now that are obviously they've come to the forefront with HIPAA compliant patient intake forms, COVID release forms, all the rest of it. Is there anything there that dentists should be watching out for?
Yeah. So online forms are, they're great. And things are always going to be changing. So sometimes what happens in the workplace is we make an adjustment because it's more convenient for us or it solves a problem that exists today. And sometimes we don't fully think through, okay, what new risks does that bring about from, a protection standpoint? Because really it's about your patients. You want to protect yourself from penalties, but first and foremost, your brain should be going, okay, how am I safeguarding my patient's information and doing the right thing for them? So in the forum world, access control. So making sure they have the right access control policies. So like right now in the States, Health and Human Services and OCR are coming down really hard on practices that don't have adequate policies and procedures for access control. So making sure that you understand like who is accessing, where are the recordings going if we're recording, and that sort of thing, and that you have the right documentation to safeguard you from that type of communication.
Right. And they're going to be looking at, data storage, making sure that forms are filled out correctly, you have all the right data, and it's obviously all secured in the right place, correct?
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Go ahead, Mark. What are you excited about? What are you excited about? What's something that, like that's happening right now that you're passionate about?
What am I excited? Like, you mean in like personally or with regards to compliance?
Well, let's go both. Why not? Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
So let's go personally first, because personally is way more fun. So
Yes,
I grew up dancing, which was why I loved your story about the guy in the car. So I recently found a studio that is going to be opening in June because California still has a lot of restrictions for COVID. But I found a dance studio. So that's something I'm really excited about because dancing feeds my soul.
Awesome.
And professionally, I would say, I think what I'm most excited about is being able to reach more listeners like the ones that you have. So I've really put an emphasis on my plan for this year to be able to connect and provide value through forums and outlets like podcasts and webinars, and just be able to help more people and put more smiles on faces.
I love it. What type of dance?
So I did all dance. So I did tap, jazz, ballet, lyrical, hip hop. I did tumbling. I'm very tall. I'm 5'10". So, but I was able to do backflips and back handsprings. So that was great.
Do one right now. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, if we had a trampoline. So maybe our next one.
It'll be blockchain and trampolines next.
Trampoline tricks.
I got a trampoline.
But no, the class that I'm going to do is a hip hop class. Yes. I actually have a small one in my office because it's very good to jump on a trampoline for your lymphatic system. So
do you do that in between podcasts?
Sometimes I do.
You should do a story.
I should do an Instagram story.
Should do a story on the trampoline.
Thank you for the inspo.
Wing. Yeah.
And I'll put some fun facts about the health benefits of it.
That's cool. Every bounce you say something, right?
Yeah.
Do this. Make sure you're doing this.
Definitely.
Are you from the Huntington Beach area?
What else?
Danielle?
What?
I'm not. I'm from Arizona. Nice. So I was born in Arizona. I lived in Colorado for about 6 years, and then I've lived in Orange County since 2019. My husband is from here, so a lot of his family is here in Orange County.
Nice.
Awesome. How is California right now?
It's good. I mean, it's still similar to we're at like 50% capacity, I think, to restaurants. And I was telling Tyler, we were so fortunate to live where we do through a pandemic because we were able to continuously get outside. And I really felt for those that were in the thick of winter, having cabin fever. Like that's just, you got to get your vitamin D. You need it for your mental health. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're a bit of an anomaly here.
That's what the guy in the sunroof, the guy in the sunroof was trying to do that. He's trying to get,
he wanted to rock it out.
In a rainstorm too. It's impressive.
He was hardcore. He was ready to let it rip. But I was going to say, like at the start of this podcast, before you hopped on, Mark, we were talking about, so Danielle's been to Calgary, but she hasn't been to Vancouver. The climate and the difference between here and, well, the way Canada is sort of set up is BC's kind of on its own little island. Like we're not island, but we're kind of a little bit different from the rest of the world or Canada because the Rockies basically separate British Columbia from the rest of Canada. So the climate and the way things are laid out in British Columbia, especially in Vancouver, are a little bit different. You basically we're actually kind of set up a lot like the Los Angeles area. You've got a mountain ridge, And then you've got sort of the area, the more lower mainland where everybody lives. And then you've got the ocean. So we're kind of set up very similar to, you know, like I go down to like Orange County and Anaheim, that area. So when I'm there, I'm like, this looks a lot like Vancouver. It's just a lot warmer and a lot nicer.
So what you're saying is I'll feel at home when I come to Vancouver.
Well, it's like Seattle. If you've ever been to Seattle, like our climate is identical to Seattle. So it's raining here 9 months out of the year, but when it is nice, it is gorgeous here. So it is nice in that regard. But so when you're in Calgary and you're like, wow, I wonder if Vancouver's like this, they're completely different climates. And then of course, when you go further east to Toronto and the Maritimes, again, the climate and the landscape changes even more. So it is a very diverse country in terms of landscape.
Danielle, is that your only taste of Canada?
That's been my only taste. I hate to say it.
What were you doing in Calgary? What were you doing in Cowtown? We call it Cowtown.
Well, I was actually there for, you guys may know, do you know like Bill Dickerson and LVI Global?
Yeah.
The continuing education. They were actually one of my first partners on this PCI HIPAA journey. And so I did a lot of lectures with their like core classes, and they're US and Canada based. And so their annual meeting one year was there, and I just extended my trip and went to Lake Louise and did all that, you know.
So you got to see some mountain action there.
I did. Yeah. Lake Louise is beautiful. It reminds me of South Lake Tahoe here in California, with just like way more mountain scenery.
Yeah. Yeah. Way more.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's like if Colorado, if there was like a Colorado backdrop with the lake, that's like what I felt like when I was in Calgary.
They got married and had Lake Louise.
Exactly.
I have an idea.
That Hong Kong is like if New York and San Francisco had a child. That's Hong Kong.
and it's a big child. It's a very big child. It's a very massive child. Yeah, it grew. It got some of its, ancestors' genes there.
New York and San Francisco were quite tall.
Yeah, so. That's true. New York is tall. That's right.
I want to get to New York. I love San Fran. I love that city.
Yeah.
That's what kills me the most about all the stuff. Like when is the last time you've been on an airplane? Like it's been so long. The border's closed down, so we can't get through. So
yeah. And my wife and I we have this wonderful place we go to in Scottsdale. So we were even just talking about that the other day. Like,
I lived in Scottsdale for 5 years. There's
this little resort. It's basically just we had our travel booking agent set us up, and it's this little resort. Now I'm at a loss for the name of it, but it's like literally 5 minutes out of the city, 5-10 minutes, and it's up sort of on the hill. I can't even describe where it is. But
is it a sanctuary?
No, it's just like a high-end like hotel resort.
Yeah, there's one called the Sanctuary, and it's up on a little bit on a hill. I'll have to think.
I'll have to check. I'll when I find out next time we have you on, I'm gonna say here's what it was. But it was cool because we were there in Scottsdale, and it was just like a weekend getaway because it's pretty quick to get from Vancouver down to Scottsdale. And we were walking back, and it was kind of chilly. It was a chilly day. It wasn't super. It was like middle of December. And we were walking back from the pool, and I saw this sort of group of people walking towards us, and there was a guy right in the middle of them. And of course, I'm like, well, the tour guide when we came in said this is where Trump stays. So I'm like, he's like, don't be surprised if you see some celebrities in here. And sure enough, there's this entourage of people walking towards us. And of course, I look and like, oh, there's somebody famous there. And then as they're walking closer to us, I see that it's Slash from Guns N' Roses. And
oh, nice.
Katrina's oblivious. She's like, we get past them. I'm trying not to like make a scene because I was a huge Guns N' Roses fan as a kid. Still am.
That's me. My husband's always like, did you see that? Did you see that?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was saying. I was like, I'm doing this. Like, oh my God, did you? And Katrina's like, it is so nice here. I really like this place. I'm like, did you not just see who walked past us? And she's like, who? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, that was Slash and Guns N' Roses. Come on. And she's, it's awesome. But,
I feel like you might have been at the Princess Hotel.
You know what? Katrina's here somewhere. Maybe she'll remember the name of it. Katrina,
it's really weighing on me. I need to know the name of the hotel.
Let's see if she's close.
It's the Princess.
Katrina, yes. Do you remember the name of the place we stayed in Scottsdale? No, she doesn't remember either. She's mad at me now. She's like, you're making fun of me.
You made fun of me.
Katrina, I'm with you. You and I don't know you, but I do the same thing. My husband would say exactly what Tyler did.
And you're both in trouble.
Katrina, right, she said that you would do the exact same thing you did, so don't worry. What's that? I like Slash. You like Slash. I know everyone likes Slash. How do you not like Slash? She's laughing at me now.
I don't know. Yeah.
Danielle, this has been
what's going on this summer? Oh, one more question. What's going on this summer? You got any plans? Anything fun happening other than trampolines and dancing?
Yeah, trampolines and dancing. I think we're going to go if things work out. We have tentative plans to go to Hawaii and just unplug. So a lot of us were, on I called it like two ends of the spectrum. You were either Netflix and chilling and just enjoying some downtime through the pandemic, or you were working more than ever because you were fortunate enough to be in one of those positions that work got busier. I was work got busier, which I am very, very grateful for. But I'm looking forward to a nice 10-day break.
Hawaii. Which island?
Maui.
Yeah. Where are you gonna stay?
I left it up to my husband actually. And I was like, let's go do this. You plan everything. I just want to show up.
Well, ask him, just ask him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he in the other room? You could ask him.
Yeah. He dropped our son off at daycare today.
Oh yeah.
It's Bring Your Spouse to Work Day here at Dentist on Demand.
Well, my husband and he owns a insurance company. And so we have an office space that we just split. So we do get out of the house and we're safe because it's just the two of us. So
just the two of us.
Love it.
Anyways.
I have an idea, Danielle, and I want to run it past you. So when we get compliance questions, like we're probably going to throw that out there too. Oh, she just texted me from the other room. Omni Scottsdale Resort at Monte Lucia.
Monte Lucia. Okay, yeah, they have a fabulous spa. Monte Lucia is and they have a great pool. They have yes, I know exactly where you were at.
So there you go. So Slash was there when we were there.
Did he go to the spa though? Did he go to the spa?
Well, it was kind of like we hadn't been there before, so we were kind of like, okay, well, let's check it out and see how it is. And then I don't think we did do the spa, which that was probably just me being cheap. Next time we will.
What's your idea, Tyler?
Okay, my idea.
You were going to ask me something.
I know. I'm the master of awkward silences. So
it's the delay. It's the delay.
I feel like you and my husband would be great friends because so is he.
I just stare at people awkwardly. Okay, moving on.
It's like he's thinking. He's just thinking, and he doesn't realize that a strange amount of time has gone by since he responded. So
I'm quite good at that.
It's just the Zoom delay, guys.
It is the Zoom delay. Like I feel like I'm a little bit delayed.
You are.
I'm delayed most days, but I'm working on that.
Usually we're sitting beside each other. I just poke them.
We are. Yeah. Hey, wake up, bud.
That's what editing's for.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of editing to do on this podcast.
We got to cut out the pauses.
I know. Hey, I know what I'm doing on my weekend.
Yeah, exactly. My idea is when we get compliance questions, I think what we should do is we should take the question in and we should say, hey, let's ask our HIPAA expert, our compliance expert, the HIPAA check. And I think we should throw those questions to you and you can shoot us back a quick video answering the question. I think that's what we should do.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. That's easy peasy.
Okay.
Beautiful.
I know, and we can talk about it later, but I know, Mark, you filled out some stuff about the affiliate program. So we definitely have that. We do not do anything in Canada. It's not on our product roadmap right now. Because we do OSHA as well as HIPAA, and we rolled that out last year during the pandemic because biggest occupational hazard ever. So, we can talk about, I know that you have some client, I think you mentioned you guys have some clients in the US.
Yeah, we're heading there. So look out.
Okay. Yeah. So there's definitely an opportunity there, but in the short term, while you're on that journey, I'm happy to do, hey, we got this question. Can you send us a video response? And you can even do it I'm happy to do it in real time too, like on Instagram stories or stuff like that.
Sure.
Why don't I think we should accumulate like a list and do the series even, like, we can do like a 5-minute.
So I call it like snackable. Like that's what I put out is like the snackable stuff. So it's like, this is the question. And I try to keep it under a minute to answer it.
I know what we're going to call it. HIPAA Snacks.
HIPAA Snacks. There you go.
By the HIPAA chick.
That's perfect. Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah,
cool.
And you're
That's
doing
great.
it right, Danielle, because like when I go through your Instagram, I'm like last night I was like, I binged on your Instagram because I was like, I sent you the questions and I'm like, well, hold on a second. She's answering half these questions on her Instagram. So why am I sending you a list of questions? So,
yeah, no. And I love, like, my favorite thing about the podcast setting is that it's conversational. It's fun. Like, compliance is boring. So like, let's have some fun, but let's also address some things that people have questions about,
Yeah.
So I love the podcast setting.
Well, it's super important. It's a really important topic. And, that's the way crime and wars are going even, it's all going online and just like you said, like the villains they're smart. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well,
and they're 15 steps ahead, right?
They're 15 steps ahead. And to add to that, dentistry is going online, right? Like
Yeah.
Here we are, Dentist on Demand is a company we've now made virtual consultations, teledentistry. We're giving dentists nonstop tools to do as much as they can online. And so that the patient really just has to drive to the office or commute to the office, walk in, get their dental care and walk out. Everything else about dental is done online. So
yeah,
the compliance part of the equation it's really a huge component.
And medical data is one of the biggest, ticket items for these guys.
Yeah, well, it's high dollar amount when resold on the black market. And what I always tell my doctors, because they don't want to talk about this stuff, they want to treat patients and go on vacation and spend time with their families. So I always explain to them, it's not about you, it's about your patients. And yes, the benefit of you doing right by your patients is you protect yourself financially from a situation. But then I also like to frame it to them with, like, think about your time, how valuable your time is. How much is a chair costing you per hour? It's not filled. And if you look at like the best people in your profession that are doing it right, that you look up to, and you're like, gosh, I want to be like them. What are they doing? What do they have in common? And what you'll find is they delegate things to experts. And that's why they're able to focus on the thing that they are best at, where their strengths live. And compliance is one of those things that it should just be an automated, I'm going to delegate this.
Yeah. And you hope that's the response to that, right? Because sometimes that's a challenge.
Yeah. And I think, once they spend a little bit of time understanding how much work is truly involved, it's pretty easy for them to like come to that conclusion that, okay, wow, even if I handed this off to my office manager, this is going to cost them a ton of time. And if I had them focused on, these 3 tasks instead, that's going to generate a better ROI for me.
Yeah,
absolutely. Danielle, we've taken way too much of your time. I know how busy you are. Thank you so much for being on with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It was fun. Thanks for having some fun around a not so fun topic, and happy to help any way that I can in the future.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Danielle.
And we'll include
have a great day.
You too. And we'll include your information in all the links and everything so that people will know how to reach you if they have questions. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. I also put together, if you want to pull up like PCIHIPAA.com/Danielle, there's some other free tools. If you want to include that link, you're welcome to. It's going to be more like beneficial to any of your US listeners, but you could check it out. And if you want to include that as a direction, that's fine too.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great
day.
Yeah.